What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Bookman channel. My ear has fully recovered from the assault that my wife did to it. Uh, so we got full hearing. Special book review today. The third book I've read from this specific author, and arguably my favorite from this historically praised writer. And that's Ernest Hemingway. And the book Farewell to Arms. If you check out that cover, ladies and gentlemen, this is a cover that you cannot take to school with you. You cannot read this on the train or on a bus, okay? Because we have naked people on it. But yeah, let's review it. Before we get to the actual story beats, what I thought of maybe how character arcs were crafted, how the story paced and progressed, stuff like that. We're going to talk about more general uh, aspects of the book. What I mean by that is like the actual craft of the writing. Let's talk about the writing. And it's Hemingway, right? He might be the most unliterary literary author. It's just like I had an English professor once say that Hemingway was like putting a monkey in front of a keyboard, and it was just like because Hemingway, that's kind of what his style is like. It's very, very minimalism, very simplistic. There's not much poetry to the story, and I think that aligns with the stories he tells as well, because he is very much the anti-story guy. You're probably saying Bookman, that makes like zero sense. He's telling stories. It's like his job. But what I mean by that is that most Hemingway works have very, very like sober uh, conclusions. You're not necessarily going to get that extremely happy ending, the storybook ending. That can be said for the tragedies as well. You're not gonna get a storybook tragedy, you know, a storybook esque Shakespearean esque tragedy, except for this book. Maybe you could argue it has a Shakespearean tragedy element to it. But these books are very much just him tell just uh, Hemingway has a very keen ability to just portray life, genuine, like genuine, authentic life, what it's like, the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. And I think this is I may have lost the thread here. No, but what I was saying, yeah. So his Brian style is very simplistic. It's not very artsy, I would say. He's definitely not like going to wow you with the way that he can use elaborate metaphor or alliteration or any other literary device you want to insert in there. It's very simple, but I enjoyed it. I think it is makes the stories very digestible, very easy to get through. I mean, Hemingway. I mean, there's a reason Hemingway's in a lot of classrooms across the education systems, at least in America. It's because he's easy to read. He's not. He doesn't. He uses pretty complex terms every now and then, but again, the sentence structure is easy. And it's for the most part, unless he goes on like some crazy run-on sentence, or he'll have a paragraph every now and then and takes up the whole page when he's feeling real artsy fartsy. But most of the time, Hemingway's pretty easy to read. So yeah, the writing I would say, even though it's not extravagant, it's his style, and I think he does it pretty well. So yeah, good for him. Now let's get into the actual story that is A Farewell to Arms. And if you couldn't tell from the title, our main character says farewell to his arms. He actually loses both arms in the war. No, that's not what happens. But I'll be honest, I'm a little bit biased reading this book because it is a subject matter that it was kind of hit close to home to me. Of course, well, first I'd like to reference this picture. Listen, I was bald. You see that? Where's my hair? I mean, I don't have much now, but my God. Anyways, Farewell to Arms is the story of love during war. We have a soldier, Frederick Henry, who is from America, but he speaks Italian, and he's fighting for the Italians in a war against the Germans and the Austrians. And, you know, so basically, one of the main hinges of the story is the complex relationship and the yearning between Frederick Henry and his love interest, Miss Barkley, Catherine Barkley. And Hemingway does a great job of describing yearning, uh, or missing somebody, wanting them, or even capturing how it feels when you find that special person, right? When I personally was away from home for a short stint, uh, I had these very similar feelings to what Hemingway describes Frederick Henry having when he is on the front away from his wife. And I sort of felt similar things when I was away from my wife, well, fiance, but hopefully she'll be my wife one day and she doesn't run away. Yeah. But yeah, the way Hemingway was able to capture that emotion in a bottle and really just like sell it to you, like this is what it feels like. It felt real because I was like, wow, this is kind of how I felt, in this the same way, especially, you know, living the military life. You're sitting in a hole somewhere, and it's like 95 degrees, or in this case, in this book, it's like raining. And you're just like, wow, I wish my wife was here. So yeah, I think he does a great job of capturing what that feeling is like, that yearning for someone that you miss, someone special. And to sort of circle back on what I said about someone special, is that there's also moments in this book when the two characters, Frederick Henry and Catherine Barclay, reunite in a way that Hemingway talks about how Henry feels when he is with her is also uh, super powerful. There's a quote that I want to reference, and let me find it because I think it does a great job of describing that how you feel when you're with that person, how life feels being with someone that you feel very very deeply for. And let me find that real quick. All right, so here it is. Listen to this. Okay. Often a man wishes to be alone, and a girl wishes to be alone too. And if they love each other, they are jealous of that in each other. But I can truly say that we never felt that. We could feel alone when we were together, alone against others. And those of you with a special someone out there, that's so real, because it's like talking about social batteries. You need to recharge your social battery. It's like even when I'm with my fiance and we're alone in the apartment together, like my battery's still recharging. It's like I can be alone with her and still have that solitude, but with her, and it's still great. Like we're not even speaking to each other. We're both sitting on the couch. She's probably crocheting. I'm probably playing Civilization 6. But it's like it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like it's draining. Like if anything, it's just charging me up. Just being alone with this person. And yeah, Hemingway just said it right there. I was like, wow, that is so true. So true, Hemingway, bro. Not only does Hemingway nail the nail on the head, hammer the nail on the head with these feelings of longing, yearning, love, real deep, true love. Um, he also does a great job of making war feel real. Again, to touch on the anti-story part, there is no glamorous uh, events from a general who turns the tide of the war and wins. He comes home, everyone decorates him. Those things do happen, of course. But what Hemingway does here is he highlights the sort of mundane, you could say tragedy, you could say uh, travesties of war. Our character, it's not really glamorous at all, like they paint in the movies, right? A lot of it's sitting around and waiting, and sitting in terrible conditions and getting mortar shells blown at you while you're sitting and waiting for cover, and worst of all, watching your fellow comrades die. Um, you take we all love fantasy here, right? If you're at the channel, I love an epic fantasy battle scene where we're throwing fireballs and there's like giant like dragons attacking people, and it makes war feel epic, feels cool. And I think there's a place for that too, of course. But there's also is very important, maybe most important, that there's also this place, this space that Hemingway has created with his illustration of war, because it's real, it's authentic, like the rest of his storytelling. This is what it's like. It's not pretty, it's not glamorous. Yes, you get awards, but at what cost? I mean, you lost friends, you lost comrades, you lost time with your family. That is the great trade off. Uh, Hemingway does a great job of showing the truth behind war here. And this was something I saw also. The sun also rises. The sun also rises takes place after the war, but we still get to see the effects on the characters and how negatively it's impacted them. So Hemingway does a great job with that. So yeah, uh, good job, Hemingway. Two more things we're gonna touch on for pros before we move on. Characters. Uh, Hemingway does great with characters, I would say. Some people, I went on Goodreads and looked at reviews for this book. Everyone's giving like 2 or 1 stars. I was like, what? And a lot of things he said was like character, but like I think Hemingway has this sort of a talent for painting, not painting. You could say painting. He created a character that feels pretty authentic and pretty layered, pretty quickly. Especially there's one character that Frederick Henry meets that is like lieutenant or something, and he's very like showboaty. He's very cocky, and it's like you only see this guy for one scene, but you still feel like, well, I know a guy like this. You know what I'm saying? Even though this guy had like very little screen time, very little page time, it's like Hemingway was still able to make this character that felt real. And he does that with Rinaldi, the doctor. There's a doctor in this story who is a minor character, but you feel like you know him. You feel like you understand him, even though he's kind of in the background. I think that's the talent of a great character writer. That even not only do the main characters have their arcs and their development and their intricacies, but the side characters do as well. And I think Hemingway does that here pretty well. The other thing was that Hemingway was the first person to use the term "cucked." You hear all these young kids nowadays saying "you're cucked," okay, but they didn't create that word. Hold on, let me find the section in here where Hemingway used "cooked" about 13 times, or maybe even 6 or 7. We'll see. All right, YouTubers, listen up. We were all cooked. The thing was not to recognize it. The last country to realize they were cooked would win the war. We had another drink. Was I on somebody's staff? No. He was. It was all balls. We were alone in the club, sitting back in one of the big leather sofas. His boots were smoothly polished dull leather. They were beautiful boots. He said it was all balls. They thought only in divisions and manpower. They all squabbled about divisions and only killed them when they got them. They were all cooked. The Germans won the victories. By God, they were soldiers. The old Hun was a soldier, but they were cooked too. We were all cooked. All right, let's talk about some of the negatives of this book. I actually really enjoyed this book. Maybe my favorite Hemingway. There's a few issues I had. One is the insta love. My God. After reading Wheel of Time, I thought I had enough insta love, but here we are again. Insta love. Uh, it's really not Frederick Henry that feels the instant love. It's Catherine Barkley, the woman who feels just instant love towards him. And again, that's just like I praise Hemingway for his authenticness, but this wasn't very authentic. I mean, she like literally falls in love with him off the rip. Uh, but it is interesting down the road to see how Henry, who's sort of this more, he's your traditional dude, bro. He's like, she's just a woman, but he actually does fall deeply in love with her once he gets to know her more. Uh, I wish maybe you could have done more for Catherine on that side of the relationship, maybe more character work for her. Yeah, and so it was weird at first. It was a little bit pushy. Like, you know how like you talk to your grandparents or your grandma. And she's like, "Yeah, your grandpa came to my work every day and asked me out every day for a whole year. And then finally I broke in and said yes, and we had a great life together." I mean, that's like the kind of vibe this relationship gave in the beginning because like Henry's like trying to force himself on her and like kiss her and stuff, and she's kind of like, "No, like I have to get back to work. Like stop." Uh, it was weird. It definitely got better. Honestly, this book was kind of shaky in the first like 10, 20 pages. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this one, Hemingway. Well, he turned it around, of course, very well. Um, Also, there is a section where Henry is technically a lieutenant. He's an officer, which means he does have higher rank than any of the enlisted members of the military. But he just kills a sergeant because he disobeyed orders. I was like, what? What are you doing? Uh, I actually wrote that down and because I was like, he didn't really suffer any consequences from it at the time. Uh, that changed, so maybe not as much as a con, but still, why would he just kill him for disobeying an order? That part I never understood. I don't know. Maybe the military functioned differently back then. I don't know. And my last final complaint that kind of irked me was, this book is obviously a product of its time. I think it came out when I don't know, a long time ago. And, Catherine makes a comparison of Frederick to Othello. And, Frederick says, I can't be Othello because, I'm not black. But he uses a different word, and it's just a very, very distasteful. Uh, so yeah, that was not cool. Not yeah, that was yeah. Overall, though, I really did enjoy A Farewell to Arms. It really is. You get the sort of Shakespearean tragedy element to the end. So maybe the Othello comparison, maybe Henry should have not dismissed it in the way he did, because he ends up having a similar arc to Othello. We have the rise and fall of the military officer or whatever. Uh, yeah, and it is really, the story is kind of just a commentary on love, on war, and just the unforgivingness of life. Sometimes you get great RNG, sometimes you get terrible RNG. There's people try to cope with this by telling themselves that there is a story to their life, that everything has meaning. This is leading up to something, the great illustration, the great tapestry that is my life. And Hemingway sort of, I think he might debate that. He might try to push back against that and listen. This is life. You know, it is unforgiving. It doesn't really care about your story. Things happen to you. And that's life. So pretty sobering story from Hemingway, but it's one of my favorites. Maybe my favorite Hemingway. I'm still debating between this and The Sun Also Rises. I read The Old Man and the Sea, and I wasn't a fan, but A Farewell to Arms and The Sun Also Rises are two of my favorites. Favorite books just in general, but yeah, great work from Hemingway. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Who would I recommend this book to? I mean, if you're a literary fan, I would probably check it out. If you're interested in some of the topics I talked about, like the unforgivingness of life, love in war, love and war, uh, War and Peace. No, that's a different book, but I would check it out. If you're a Hemingway fan, of course, check it out. It might be your favorite. I don't know. I might like it more than The Sun Also Rises. But yeah. Oh, if you're a fan of World War One, maybe you could check this out because that's the setting. Uh, but thank you all for watching, and hopefully I can get another video out soon. I need to start reading better, more better. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and see you later. Goodbye, YouTubers.